You're watching Force 13's live streaming service.
Hello everyone and welcome to Force 13 Live. This is a slightly different stream than you're all probably used to because, well, your host is slightly different. So I'm Thomas Schwent. I'm part of the Force 13 US team in most occasions, although tonight I am the host of this stream here regarding a little invest here in the Atlantic Ocean that looks like it could become quite the storm over the next couple of days. So here it is. And you can see it very clearly here. That circulation, you can see where I'm circling my mouse cursor over, looks to be where the center kind of is right now. So that's what we're really watching, and we're really watching this to become a tropical cyclone over the next 5 days. National Hurricane Center giving this a 70% chance of becoming a tropical depression or stronger in 2 days, and an 80% chance in 3 days. So this is definitely looking like it could be quite the system here. And also we do have some satellite imagery from a team member here. I do have the team with me. This is from our team member Ethan, and you can see we do have the team here consisting of David, Ethan, and Max. How are you all doing this evening?
Good, thanks.
I'm doing all right, Thomas. How are you doing?
I am doing well. This is an interesting invest that we do have going here, and I think that this definitely could be something that we'll be watching extremely closely in the relatively near future.
Can't agree with you there.
All right, so what are your thoughts on the current system, Ethan, since you're showing this satellite?
Well, as you can see, we have a lot of showers and thunderstorms blowing up really near the coast into southeastern Alabama, even into portions of Georgia a little bit. Some of those showers and thunderstorms that are blowing up in Alabama, however, are severe warned, but I generally, as was shown on the break there, that this system should be at tropical depression intensity in around 24 hours.
Well,
The main rainfall with this is going to be rainfall, though. The rainfall is the biggest story of the system, as typically with weak tropical storms like this.
yeah, it definitely does look like rainfall is going to be one of the biggest threats here over the storm's life cycle. This storm is actually a stage 3 on the CDPS scale and does have pretty major rainfall potential at this time. So this is definitely looking like it could get quite bad here. So if we do take a look at this system here a little bit more closely back on the satellite imagery here that you can see the center not really under too much convection right now. There's a lot of convection to its north and to its east, but it's not really fully circular at the moment, and that ultimately probably means that this really isn't overly organized, but it'll likely organize up over the next day or two. There are two possible scenarios with this. Either we're going to get a center more towards the west coast or the northern coast of Florida, and depending on where it goes will determine how strong it gets. The farther north the center, the weaker the storm will be. The farther south the center, the stronger the storm will be capable of getting, and the longer it'll be over water. So that's really where we're at with this right now, and I think it's definitely going to be an interesting next few days as this storm does continue its general movement. Looks like it's going to now be taking a generally westward march now, and we'll see just where it develops and how it does develop. You can see here on Ethan's screen some interesting stuff. So Ethan, this is a graphic that you made, so tell us a little bit more about it.
So as you can see, currently Invest 92L is currently located just off or either onshore. The center isn't really that well defined at the moment. It's really a guessing game, but it's generally in this area that I have marked where it is currently at. And as you see, the National Hurricane Center is giving it an 80% chance of formation in the next 5 days, 70% chance in 48 hours. And I think the general formation, it's going to be along the northern Gulf of Mexico. But I definitely think that it'll probably form in the eastern Gulf of Mexico because conditions are ripe right now for the same to form. And as I said earlier, flash flooding will be the main threat of this storm. However, this storm could produce upwards, maybe a lot of rainfall, maybe comparing to that of recent tropical storms like Nate, maybe even pushing into Cindy from 2017. Now, if you're talking about winds with this storm, winds certainly will be at least 40 miles an hour, but this storm could attain hurricane intensity prior to making landfall, which would put it at 75, maybe even pushing 80 miles an hour. I don't think that the chances of this thing getting into Category 2 are relatively low, but you never know. There are always both surprises on us. Now, a storm surge with this is also going to be small amounts, as the storm will likely be remaining weak. Power outages may occur. And as I have noted there at the final point, stay tuned to your media outlets and the National Hurricane Center for up to date.
That is definitely true, and we can see another look at the National Hurricane Center's Outlook map. Right here, you can see it in more detail. The X is where the storm is currently located according to the Hurricane Center. The dot is where the ATCF has it located, and you can see both of them here relatively close to each other. And either way, it does look like the storm again is headed on that westward march that you can see here rather clearly. So definitely something to be of interest. So we will have to see what exactly does happen with this, but again, still that 70% chance of development over the next 2 days. I think the odds of this thing developing are relatively high, and I think that hurricane status is not out of the question, especially if it takes a farther south track. The farther south this goes, again, the more time it's going to have and the more energy it's going to have access to strengthen. Sea surface temperatures are extremely warm with this system and really are just ripe for tropical cyclone development. And with that being said, you can actually see those sea surface temperatures that I'm referring to here in a little more detail in just a minute. So you can see them somewhat okay. But here we go. If I scroll down, this is where the storm is. This is where it could possibly track, and its sea surface temperatures are very warm at the moment. So it's got what it needs there. And if we take a look at wind shear as well, I'll turn on that. You can see that where the storm is currently located, it's got plenty of low shear to keep it going for a while. So warm sea surface temperatures, low wind shear, and quite a lot of moisture. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Now, Thomas, is wind shear decreasing in front of the
Wind shear is, at least if wind shear were to remain the same as it is now, would be slowly increasing, but wind shear will probably generally be low throughout this storm's entire life. At least at this point, that's what it looks like.
this graphic I'm sharing right now does appear to be a slightly high area west over Galveston area. It's if I'm not mistaken.
All right, Max, we're getting a lot of feedback issues and cutting out issues from Max here. So while Max's internet is reconnecting, Ethan, you have something here?
Yes, on my screen right now I have the current day 1 rainfall outlook from the Weather Prediction Center. Now there is a slight risk across the northern plains, what we are talking about, what it is down here in Florida. There is currently a marginal risk in effect for flash flooding, my bad there. And looking over to the next day, the rainfall threat really pushes from really Tampa all the way over to portions of western Louisiana, still under a margin, and then pushing into day 3. Marginal risk still really from Houston all the way over to where Hurricane Michael made landfall last year as a Category 5. Now, I don't think a moderate risk for flash flooding will be issued, but I think that slight risks across this area for flash flooding cannot be.
Definitely a true statement. This is definitely an interesting storm. And again, you can see the general track. This red area here is where the NHC expects this to develop. I know it says in red on the top hurricane warning on my key there. That's not what this is at all. This is not a hurricane warning. I promise you, this is the area that this could potentially develop. So you can see the track as it dived south. You can see where it is now. So we will see.
You guys hear me better?
Yeah, it looks like we can. Sounds like we can hear you better.
So if you're looking at the graphic I'm showing, it does west center, roughly over the Galveston area. So that if it doesn't finish, it could potentially interfere, being a rather intense system as it gets over to that area.
Right, and you can see the graphic here that he is showing, and you can see generally what he said when barbs, stuff like that. That graphic is cutting in and out, so I am doing my best with that. But there we go. So Ethan, you have some RAM imagery showing at the moment?
Yep, I'm currently getting that up if you don't mind, but generally the system right now all that it really needs right now is time to organize. And time it certainly has. And it would not surprise me if 24 hours from now we are seeing, it would not surprise me at all if there is a tropical depression in the Gulf of Mexico.
Wouldn't surprise me either. You can actually now see I'm turning on the radar here so you can see generally what kind of rain is falling at the moment. Because there's lots of rain with this. You can see it's kind of hard to pinpoint the center. So this is the past 7 hours of rainfall. And you can kind of see the swirl here generally. I mean, the swirl, it's rather obvious, is occurring. It's where the swirl is, and it looks like we're seeing a northward swirl and a southward swirl. So it's the kind of thing where this has two areas of vorticity. It's going to be which one is more capable of maximizing itself, and if it's a southern one, which we could see, this is going to get stronger, and again, if it's the northern one, it's probably going to get weaker. But according to the Hurricane Center, looks like they're leaning towards the southern circulation with their forecast at this time.
Now, currently on my screen is what Max was trying to show earlier, the wind shear graphic. Right now, over Invest 92, there's about 5 to 10 knots worth of wind shear, but it is moving towards an area of even more favorable wind shearing. So wind shear in the general area of the Caribbean Sea is obviously high, so we won't be seeing any more chances of formation. And over the southern Gulf of Mexico, wind shear is relatively low, but there's a lot of dry air in this area, and that should hit formation there. However, along the northern Gulf of Mexico, things are pretty much all clear for them, and it would not surprise me if it forms.
Like I was
go on.
There is a only 5 knot plus wind gale, which I'm not entirely sure if this is going to diminish by the time the storm gets to that area, increase, or if it'll stay the same.
It should not get sheared that much because a front's going to move in and pick this thing up north. So I think that this is not going to get sheared that badly, especially since it, I think, has generally anticyclonic flow on it. So hopefully, at least in the storm's perspective, hopefully it does remain low. For the people in places like Houston and New Orleans, hopefully it does have a bad... hopefully it does have worse conditions than we're expecting. So, we do have a question here saying, what are the chances of a tropical storm to form in the Mediterranean Sea? That's quite off topic, but I guess we can answer it. I think the simple answer is low, very low. I think
It's not going to happen, I don't think.
We can all generally agree on that front.
So, Thomas, what do you think that this invest is going
to... what do I think this invest is going to do?
Yeah, like intensity, like peak intensity wise.
When it comes to peak intensity, I think that this will get to a strong tropical storm or a weak hurricane. If you want my honest answer, I think that at its strongest it could be 80, even 85 miles an hour, and I think at its weakest it'll be at about 60 if it develops, of course. So I think it's anywhere from 60 to 80.
Currently on my screen is my cone that I did make earlier for this invest. And as you can see, as I've been saying, I am expecting a tropical depression in the Gulf of Mexico in around 24 hours. Then around 2 days later, I'm expecting a peak of around 65 miles an hour.
Right, and another member has joined here. Member Force 13, Ryan Leahy, has joined. Ryan, how have you been? What are your thoughts on this invest right now?
Alright. Well, hello, everyone. So this invest, well, it doesn't seem to be much right now. It's just clouds. Is it? I mean, I think it does now have a surface low on it, so looks like there is some development with this, but 70% chance of development within the next 48 hours, 80% within the next 5 days, generally moving to the west, over the northern Gulf of Mexico, bringing impacts along the Gulf Coast. Intensity-wise, I think it will be, let's say like a week to Mach TS, really. And yeah, but again, as I've been hearing, the further south that this thing goes, the stronger it's going to be. It stays close to land, it's obviously not going to have as much development, but if it stays over water for more time, especially as it moves further south, where I think there are the sea surface temperatures are higher, there's higher ocean heat content as you go further into like the central parts of the Gulf of Mexico. It's there's more heat content there, so that could make it stronger than forecast if that were to happen.
Yeah, at
It
least
is
at this
important to
time.
know. It is important to note that within the National Hurricane Center's recent tropical weather outlook, they will be issuing a new one in around 2 hours from now. An Air Force Reserve unit reconnaissance aircraft is scheduled to investigate the low on Wednesday if necessary, so that could happen, and they could find it as a tropical depression at that time. This disturbance has the potential to produce heavy rainfall from the upper Texas coast to the Florida panhandle during the next several days. In addition, this system could produce wind and storm surge impacts later this week or this weekend from Louisiana to the upper Texas coast. If you're anywhere, I'd say, well, from Tallahassee, Florida, westward to about Houston, I would monitor this system very closely.
I would also suggest monitoring that system. We do have an excellent RSMC that does cover the Atlantic Ocean, the National Hurricane Center. So please follow the National Hurricane Center's instructions. If they order you to evacuate or your local National Weather Service tells you to evacuate, please do so. Local TV media and here at Force 13, we will be covering evacuations if needed, mandatory evacuations. So just go to any of these sources if you do need more information at a point. Just get to the one you can get to the fastest if you desperately need the information. We're going to be here covering this over the next few days as this does continue to develop. So definitely this is an interesting situation, and definitely this is one of the more rare kinds of events that you see where you have a storm system where you have a low in the United States based off of a front that forms, splits off from the rest of a frontal system, splits off of its trough and heads south. But that's what's happened. And this is going to be a rather rare form of tropical cyclogenesis that does occur if this thing does manage to develop, which it looks like it's going to.
I have a question, Thomas.
And me too.
For these systems that you're talking about, like, have we ever seen something like that? Like, when's the last time we saw a system develop like this?
I honestly couldn't tell you. There's never been one that's developed like this in my tracking, but I've only been tracking for about 5-6 years. So I can't really tell you. I'm not much of a historian, but what I can tell you is that it's definitely uncommon, and most of the tropical cyclones that develop as tropical waves over on the African side of the Atlantic, and they head over here, and some of them wait to develop until they get near the United States. Hurricanes such as Katrina had to wait like that for a while. Hurricanes like Andrew also had to wait for a little bit. But it's much more common for storms to develop that way than the way that this one is going to develop. It is over water now, though, so it looks like the rest of the development process should be pretty standard for a tropical disturbance.
Yeah, it has been moving over water, and it does look like as it does move over water, it's really starting to I guess, develop some thunderstorms around it. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, it looks like convection is developing quite a bit around the system, which is allowing for a more bona fide and a better kind of a center look to the system. A better defined center could occur, could form. David, you said you had a question as well?
I was just going to ask, what's the ocean heat content or sea surface temperature? And Thomas, you mentioned earlier in the stream a second circulation. So at this point in time, we're not 100% sure where the circulation is. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're not 100% sure where a dominant circulation is going to form just yet, but that will become much more clear very soon. By tomorrow, that'll be much more clear. Although as of right now, it looks like the northern one is kind of dominating right now, but we'll see if that does change. But back to your question about the heat content in the ocean. There is a lot of it. So it's currently in fairly high heat content, but the sea surface temperatures have warmed a lot. We have 31 to 32 degrees Celsius, 30 to 32 in this area that I've just drawn out here. Within the development region, the NHC has given most of the sea surface temperatures are at least 30 degrees Celsius. So this thing has lots of energy, lots of instability to work with. So we'll see what exactly does happen.
Now, I did see a question that did come in about tornadoes. Are they possible? Currently on my screen, we have really the only outlook concerning tornadoes at this moment, the Day 3 outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. Marginal risk really extending from central Louisiana coastline eastward to the Florida Panhandle, and that will really be on Day 3, which this is concerning Thursday. This is really going to be the general area. It wouldn't surprise me if going into Wednesday morning, it would not surprise me if the Day 3 out has a marginal risk across the Texas and Louisiana coast again, maybe even pushing into a slight risk for this area.
Yeah, and I do see that marginal risk there along the northern Gulf Coast. So yeah, I mean, again, there is a risk of tornadoes, as I think there usually is with tropical systems. They're not like the ones we see in Tornado Alley in the spring, nowhere near that, but they can produce brief, like a spin-up tornadoes in the outer bands of a tropical cyclone.
No, we do have a couple of questions. First of all, if tornadoes form, will they be in the northeastern quadrant? That's where it's most likely, yes. And then for the other question, and this one I think we can all discuss a little bit, what are the odds of this thing making landfall in Texas?
If it goes far enough south into the Gulf, which really depends, I'd say maybe like a 25% chance, but I don't know. It's just too hard to tell at this time because the system really hasn't formed, and we don't really know exactly where that, center, the well-defined center is going to form. So I don't know.
Yeah,
it really will depend.
And you can see here, I do have the model spread open at the moment. If you want to look at it on the stream, it's quite large. There's some making landfall on the Mississippi coast, some in Alabama even. And then we have the big bunch in central to western Louisiana. And that's where it looks like it may go. Ignore this. This is just an extrapolation path. But the rest of these models, you can just see that the track disagreement is very large for just how far this is going to go. But generally, I think agreement is that this dominant center is the northern one. This is going to be the one that forms, which means therefore a weaker system than what we were thinking could have occurred before. So we'll see very soon. But yeah, weather models at this time, lots of disagreement. And Ethan, I can see you do have on your screen the forecast cone that you made. So there you go.
Sure, I can go ahead and say what Well, as you can see on this cone, I am forecasting a Louisiana land. I'm forecasting around where Hurricane Rita back in 2005 made landfall as a Category 3. Now, a Texas landfall cannot be ruled out, as my cone does go slightly into Texas a little bit on the western side. But I think the Louisiana landfall on this thing is almost. Now, intensity-wise at landfall, this thing could be 65, 50, 70 miles an hour. It could be
Who
anywhere,
knows?
to be honest. It could even be a hurricane at landfall. For the time being, I'm forecasting, it doesn't see on this graphic, but I'm currently forecasting a landfall intensity of 60 miles per hour.
Okay.
So a little bit of weakening as it comes in short.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know what's gonna happen with this intensity-wise. I mean, it could be anywhere from, like, not even developing, which I think is starting to become more unlikely. But even still, if it didn't develop, it'd still have its impacts. But, you know, and then it could be as strong as maybe, like, again, like 75, 80 mile an hour Cat 1 hurricane. And it could make landfall at that intensity, so then there's the wind factor to it as well.
And there we go. Lots and lots of factors really going in to this system. It's not a overly complicated steering pattern. It's really just an argument of timing at this point. When is this front going to move in? Where's the storm going to be when this front moves in? Because we do have a front that's going to really impact steering. A cold front, to be exact with you, and we can actually go over that in a weather model guidance here. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to pull up some weather model guidance here and we can take a look. This is going to be the GFS. So there are obviously other models, but this will just give you a general idea of the kind of steering that we got, what exactly is going on, and how it will influence this storm's track. So here we are. I will show the model stuff now. This is courtesy of tropicaltidbits.com. So there we go. You can see this somewhat okay. It's actually get this to right about here. There we go. So this is what we're looking at right now. You can see this is the GFS, and so this pool of moisture is the current invest. So this is what is expected to develop, and you'll notice it develop on the GFS from a northern circulation, a northern surface circulation, and then it's going to dive southward. But what you'll notice is that we have this front here. So we have ridging that's occurring. The ridging is going to be what creates this storm's ability to stay south, but this front's going to be what takes it back up north. So the storm probably, if I think the GFS correctly, is going to take a track like this, if at least extrapolating from where the front is. That's where the storm would go. You can see it does go farther north. It senses a weakness there, and the GFS takes this north and entrains drier into it from the front. So this is a weakness that's going to be created from this front, but front timing is key, and you can see the front as it marches its way southward and creates more of a weakness. GFS creating more of a weakness, though, than the European model. So that is what we are looking at there.
Currently on my screen share, I am showing the intensity guidance for this storm that are forecasted by the models. The general consistency is obviously going to be a tropical storm. What its exact peak intensity is going to be, that is what we'll have to wait and see what happens. But generally, these models appear obviously statistical models. But the general consistency is going to be for about 50, 60 mile an hour tropical storm at peak.
Now, I would like to say, if I can for just a moment, that's probably going to be pretty accurate in this case. But in a lot of cases, models intensity guidance isn't that fantastic. So what can happen is underestimation of intensity is most common. I'm not saying that's what's going on here. I honestly think that this is a better representation, but with hurricanes such as Michael and Barbara recently, the first few model runs for these did also show tropical storms, and both of those were Category 5s. This obviously will not get there, but I'm just saying that's not something to rely on when making these forecasts. Although this doesn't have the time to even get to a major hurricane. I repeat, this will not get to a major hurricane. I'm ruling that out right now.
No, it just doesn't have enough time, and I think it's just too early. I mean, if this was maybe in like a different time of year, like if it was like August or September, maybe a major hurricane, but it's only mid-July. It's not going to get there, and I'd be shocked if it did. I'm thinking.
As you can see on my. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that I think that at most, I think maybe minimal hurricane with this. Can't be ruled out. Maybe a little bit stronger, but I don't think so. I think 80 miles an hour is the highest that I'll go with.
Now, Thomas, I know that you're still showing my screen on the stream, so right now I have all the GFS ensemble tracks that the model has been initiated, and as you can see, they are all over the place. But generally, the general consistency is going to be a landfall once again in Louisiana. Where it's going to occur in Louisiana, that is the question. That is the big question. It's certainly going to be in around 72 to 96 hours is where landfall is going to be.
It's going to be in between day 3 and day 4. But how intense this gets in between those days is really going to be crucial, as well as what time different steering elements come into the storm's influence.
Thomas, just a couple of questions from the viewers. Can we have a look at the rainfall factor, the wind field? I think those two off the National Hurricane Center.
It doesn't really have a wind field right now because it's not really like a tropical storm.
There's no
tropical storm force winds, nothing.
There's none. Yeah, see it.
There's nothing at the moment, but I can show you what rainfall is expected to look like here. So I can show you the forecasted precipitation over the next 5 days from this. You can see that now on the screen. And so this all right here, this big blob, is produced by 92L. So you can see just how big the blob is. This is days 1 through 5. And this is just, it's a lot of rainfall. These yellows here are indicative of up to like 6 inches of rain. That's over water. It's up to 12 inches actually. And then you can see still lots of rain surging in to central Louisiana. But it's going to be very rainy. Flooding is likely. This region does not need any more rain. Plenty of flooding has already occurred this year, but it looks like a lot more rain is going to be coming their way. And this rainfall graphic, do not take it with 100% certainty. The track of this storm will be pivotal on where exactly the rain is. And so you can see this is expecting it in western Louisiana because the most rain will be in the northeastern quadrant. What's going to happen is if this shifts towards Houston, the rain is going to shift way, way, way westward. If this shifts towards New Orleans, the rain is going to be way eastward. This could shift quite a bit over the next couple of days, but just know that if you're in those purples and reds and then into those oranges, you're really getting some heavy rain.
Do we have any chance we can bring up on the screen a look at the local National Weather Service radar?
Yeah, so I'm not going to do it at a localized scale, but I can pull up National Weather Service radar for
Yep.
the entire country. That should give a good idea of what's going on. So that's been pulled up. That's been looping, and I'll start looping it again here for a little bit, just so people can see where the storm is right now. 5-day formation outlook as well, and 92L. So you can see all of that here. It's loading in. It'll be all loaded here in hopefully just a minute. You can see invest 92L there.
And we've still got the HWRF and the HMON to come on board.
Those are yet to come on board still at this point in time.
It's really just the GFS that's on board with the system for model runs at this point.
The Euro is as well.
Yeah, it surprises me the HMON and HWRF aren't on the system because typically they are. They were Barbara, they were on Cosme, they were Alvin even, they were on those like crazy right whenever it was declared like a 30% chance. Got into the designation as well.
Well, here's the thing though. This was over land for some time, so maybe that's why. I don't know. I'm kind of confused as well why the HWRF and the HMON have seen the system. Definitely would have by this time, I would have thought.
Well, I think, again, it's just because it's still a little bit unclear where that center of circulation is. It looks like the northern center is going to be the dominant one at this point. But we'll have to see. The southern one is still churning away. So it really could go either way at this point. But still, I mean, it's just an extremely interesting phenomenon to see, and it's something that we're going to be watching closely here.
So currently on my screen I have a wide shot currently of the Gulf of Mexico. You can clearly see Invest 92L up there near Florida. Now obviously you can see a lot of showers and thunderstorms pushing across Cuba. These things are getting sheared to death right now. There's obviously a high wind shear in the Caribbean, as I said near the beginning of the stream. And you may notice that there is a bit of a clear sky over the western Gulf of Mexico. This is where abundance of dry air is. And that's going to really, if the storm were to move south, which it won't at all because the steering of the system is going to push it back into Louisiana, but if it were to go western than forecasted towards Corpus Christi and towards Mexico, dry air pretty much get this thing killed in like a matter of days.
I do want to correct some of the stuff that we have been saying. The HMON has actually picked up on the system. Someone in our Discord server pointed that out, so thank you to them. Yeah, so it's showing, looks like just a TD out of 92L.
Not even 35 knot wind?
I haven't checked yet. It looks like it's just, let me see here. I don't think so. Alright, I need to check this here real quick. No. Peaks it at 33 knots. And pressure at 1,008, but it's not done initializing yet. It's only gone up to 30 hours. The model run's not done yet.
That'll be like just south of, probably just south of Gulfport, Mississippi, and
Yeah, it takes it just to the south of, generally on a southwestern track. I want to say, okay, well here it's currently near, say the furthest out it goes is here on Wednesday evening. It shows it at about 27.5 north, 87.5 west.
The H-Wharf is also now loading.
Oh, oh wow, yeah, the H-Wharf is now on board, it looks like, too.
It's just started.
Just starting, yeah, same with the H-Mon at this time, so, yeah, hopefully we'll get most of the run in here.
That's certainly good to see that those miles are on board.
Yeah, and we'll probably get some clarity with the forecast and what this is going to do, but again, we'll just have to wait a little bit, see until it really actually forms or gets itself more organized, and then we'll just have to, then we can make a much more accurate forecast.
Yeah. We have had a few people in the chat asking if this is going to get to Category 1 status, and I think that the simplest answer is really just that we don't know yet if this is going to get there. It depends on how quickly this does develop, and it also depends on where it goes afterward. There we go.
Yeah, because if it goes further south goes, the stronger it will be. That is the thing that we're really trying to see here. And notice that a lot of the models that, take it closer to the coast, they generally seem to be, not as strong. But then those that take it, further south and into warmer waters and away from the coast tend to make it like a strong tropical storm, minimal hurricane.
I can agree with you there, Ryan.
We do have another question. I know we've already gone over it, but we'll go over it again. How much rainfall is expected? Lots. This is the quantitative precipitation forecast, and you can see there just how much rain there could be. So well over a foot possible, especially over water, and then you can see inland still lots of rain, 8-10 inches in there. And where this storm makes landfall is going to be pivotal on just how much rain does fall in your area. So for example, the storm is right now expected to make landfall in western Louisiana. That is influencing because of the northeastern quadrant for the most rain to be in central Louisiana. If this shifts east, the rain shifts east. If this shifts west, the rain shifts west. So it's really, at least at this point, looking like rainfall is generally going to be high wherever this does make landfall. The question is where that's going to occur.
Now we are expecting a new tropical weather outlook from the National Hurricane Center in around an hour from now.
Actually, I don't know. Yeah.
So what do you think that they're going to upgrade the percentages? Do you think that they're going to leave them or upgrade them?
I don't know. I mean,
I think they're gonna leave
how
them.
is this? Yeah, I know. It's still kind of unclear exactly what 92L's future is gonna be.
Yeah, and that's gonna remain unclear for a little while yet. Once it develops, though, it'll be much more clear. Tyler Weather saying, so I think this will peak at 80 miles an hour. I think that's unlikely. But we'll see. Norway Tracking saying, I think it'll be designated as potential tropical cyclone 2 by the end of the night. I'm sorry, but no.
The end of the night? No, it will not be.
No. This is not organized enough yet. It's not going to be a depression by the end of the evening.
No, I think he's talking potential tropical cyclone. That's not a depression.
No, but it means that it's imminent. That means 100% chance of development. They have a forecast track and everything. There isn't even a clear enough defined center just yet to even say where it is. So I still think no, PTC is unlikely.
Very
well, I mean,
unlikely.
look at what they did. Look at what they did for Cindy. Cindy didn't have a well-defined center, and it looked almost similar to what 92L looks like now, and it was declared as a PTC.
That had a well-defined center of circulation. It had the convection in the kind of shape that 92L does, but it had a much clearer center.
So I'd say if it's going to be a PTC, it'll probably be one tomorrow during the daylight hours of Eastern time.
Yeah,
and it'll probably be a TD by tomorrow evening.
Probably like 24 hours from now.
Yeah.
Now, what were you saying, Max?
Just look at PTC 10 for a better example. That was declared PTC, and it didn't even have a circular, and never.
Well, yeah, the thing about PTC 10 is that it was, I think it peaked as like a 90% chance or something like that, and it was still PTC. So a potential tropical cyclone means potential tropical cyclone. It does not mean it is going to be a tropical cyclone. It has the potential of being a tropical cyclone, but usually they only designate that when, there's a clear enough center.
They designate PTCs to issue watches and warnings on.
That's why they do them, so that they can issue watches and warnings earlier before the storm forms. So it's not like if a storm forms while making landfall, then they issue, watches and warnings. There's no point in doing that. So if it does appear that it's going to, just to give a little bit more lead time for watches and warnings, that's the main reason why they started doing potential tropical cyclone advisories back in 2017.
That is a true statement. That is one of the main reasons. Another reason was just so they could give a better general forecast for people to look at, for the media to use, for other people to base off of. But right now I don't think there's enough forecast confidence, nor enough confidence on where the strongest winds will be, or where it's going to track in order to issue warnings yet anyway. Epic Gamer YouTube says, does New Orleans need to make preparations for 92L? Yes, but not like evacuations. Just prepare for a lot of rain, whatever that means for you. Just prepare for a lot of rain, prepare for a tropical storm. Gusty winds, just prepare to stay indoors and listen to the National Hurricane Center and officials. They'll tell you what you need to do.
Yeah, just, pay attention to the weather, look at your local National Weather Service offices, your local emergency management officials, local officials, just stay in touch with those. Listen to them, any advice that they're giving or any instructions, and because they're there to keep you safe. And so if you just pay attention, that's really all you got to do. You can pay attention. Usually, so if you pay attention to your officials, and you'll basically be safe.
We do have someone else. Tyler, whether you're saying that if we had a Discord that you'd show all 8 of your weather models because you think this is going to be a Category 1, we do. You can check the link in the description to our Discord server, and then feel free to show us all of those models. We disagree. don't think it'll get there. We think it's not impossible, but we do disagree. So that's what we're looking at. Also, we do have some interesting stuff with Invest 92L. A rain band related to it has produced a severe thunderstorm headed into Florida with winds of 60 miles per hour.
Oh, that is interesting. That would be in okay, so is that moving to the southwest?
South.
Appears so. Or yeah, southwest. Southwest, I guess. See the details on that.
As you can see, that warning there, and it does just have, and you can see there, counties and everything. Hazard is 60 mile per hour wind gust, it looks like. They do not have a specific hazard parameter, although they are saying that this does have a history of producing wind damage. This is a very dangerous situation. Seek shelter. So it is looking like they are showing this to be a very dangerous storm. So we'll see. It does look like this storm, again, does have quite the history of producing wind damage for quite a while here. And now the line has just better formulated. We do have a couple of tornado warnings up in Minnesota, of all places, as well. So just be keeping an eye on things up there. But
oh wow, are those tornado warnings?
Yeah, 3 of them.
Oh wow.
3 different cells.
Interesting.
So yeah, that's interesting, but we're not here to talk about tornadoes. All right, well, here we go. We do have a question. March 13, I am in New Orleans, and the river is expected to go to 19 feet, which is 1 inch from major flood stage. All right, so National Hurricane Center outlook does come out in the next hour. We're going to be taking a break. Let us know if you want us to come back. We are deciding if we will be coming back or not. Please let us know, and we'll put that into consideration and see if we come back. Thank you so much for watching. This has been a great stream, and we might be back at top of the hour here.
You're watching Force 13's live streaming service.
Alright, we are back with the second hour of coverage on Invest 92L here, and this hour is going to be a little bit different than the previous hour because now it's really just kind of a Q&A. You, the audience, can ask us really whatever you want as long as it's related to weather and preferably 92L, and we will be answering all of your questions throughout this hour. So if you asked them last hour and they didn't get answered, be sure to tag Force 13 in the chat, and we'll get to all those questions that are sent in from now to the rest of the hour, at least as many as we can. We will be staying live until the new National Hurricane Center outlook does come out. And when that does happen, we'll talk about that for a little bit, and then we'll be headed off the air. So that's what's going on right now. I do have the team with me now, just consisting of Ethan and Max. David is there in the background, although at the moment it does not look like he is being all that chatty. So here we go. This is the team. How are all of you doing?
I'm doing all right, Thomas. Staying here for another hour on the coverage of Invest 92L. Likely to become a tropical cyclone tomorrow.
All right. So we do have a couple of questions that have already come in. The first one saying, this is slightly off topic, but the El Nino 3.4 is currently in a neutral state. I think you just meant the Nino 3.4. And I wonder whether it's a short time a short-term thing or a hint for the upcoming months? Well, I think it's generally been a consensus that it's going to be kind of neutral, right? Leaning on the warm side, if I'm not mistaken. But neutral?
I believe so.
Yeah, so I think that that's going to be kind of what we're getting for the next couple of months. Things are going to be pretty neutral. We have another question here. We have quite a few questions. Here's the next one. Could this become a Category 2? The answer is yes. Will it do it? Probably not. I'd give it a 2% chance of getting there right now. Maybe 5 if I'm feeling generous.
I think that the general consistency or intensity-wise on this storm is going to be around 70, 65, maybe even pushing 80 miles an hour.
I'd say 80 miles per max.
I would agree with you. All right, next question. When will Chantel form? We don't know. I think it's as simple as that. Next one. Let's see. So, next questions here. What is your updated hurricane season prediction? It's the same as it was a couple months ago. So, there you go. You can take a look at that video. You can get a very good idea of Force 13's thoughts. All right, next question. Is it possible for this to turn and hit Mexico? I don't think so. To the team, what are your thoughts on that?
What was the question again? Sorry.
Could this hit Mexico?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So I think the general consensus is no there. Next question. Could there be a subtropical major hurricane? Do those exist?
No, the National Hurricane Center does not recognize subtropical hurricane. If any subtropical storm attains hurricane strength, it will just be assumed to be tropical. Apart from two systems, one in 1980 and the other in 1909, that happened before this rule was implemented. So, no.
Yeah, no, those do not exist. All right, next question. Here we go. All right, here's the next one. Can we see the H-Wharf and H-Mon models? Yes, you can. So,
I believe that those models are still initiating their runs, I believe.
Yeah, they're still in progress, but we will still show them. So let's start with the H-Wharf. This is up to 48 hours out now. You can see at 48 hours it does initialize a tropical storm, so you can see general development of two circulations here, and then you can see the dominant southern circulation there. And you can see generally a 50-knot peak. And it actually does show a little bit of weakening, which is interesting, but I think it's generally just a phase of weakness. But both the H-Mon and the H-Wharf in general agreement of about 45 knots in 48 hours time. And it does show, the H-Mon at least does show a good bit of strengthening afterwards. So we'll see what does happen, but there are those models. All right, here is the next question. Right, just a minute. Any chance of 92L becoming a tropical depression tonight? No, I don't think so. Tomorrow it definitely could, but tonight I don't think so.
It really depends on what time you're going off of. If you're going on UTC, it's not going to become a tropical depression within an hour. It's not. But if you talk about Eastern time, which is the most likely time that you're talking about, I mean, if it wants to do it in 5 hours, it has to organize rapidly, and it's not going to do that.
No.
I think that the most likely time of a tropical depression forming out of this system is going to be about midday tomorrow Eastern time.
Yeah, there. Go on. So there we go. Very own David Tones just left. But here we go. Let's get to the next few questions here. Next question. Will this storm affect Louisiana? Yes, it will.
Almost certainly.
That's a certainty at this point. It's going to affect Louisiana. It's how it affects Louisiana. It looks like a landfall in Louisiana is likely at the moment. We'll see if that remains. But either way, heavy rainfall is going to occur somewhere in Louisiana. If this heads towards Texas, still rainfall in Louisiana. Either way, this is a large enough system that rainfall will likely occur, and very heavy rainfall at that, in Louisiana. Here's the next question. Will an El Nino form in September? Too far out to say, but probably not, and if so, it's going to be weak. In my opinion. If anyone disagrees with me, please voice your concerns now. Okay.
Currently on my screen is a wide shot of the continental United States. Obviously, 92L is clearly shown. And there's a little swirl over there in the East Pacific. You can see that is actually the remnants of Tropical Storm Cosme. And the National Hurricane Center is highlighting that little disturbance south of Mexico on their latest tropical weather outlook. I believe they give a 20% chance of formation in the next 5 days, 0% in 48 hours. I have checked up on that because I've been watching 92L very closely over the past few days. But generally, any new tropical cyclones forming in this area within the next few days, it's going to be relative.
Yeah, so it looks like, again, 92L is going to be our primary focus, and we'll see what does exactly happen. This has been a very interesting last couple of days. Here's the chances of this storm system developing have risen, especially with time, and the new National Hurricane Center outlook will likely come out within this hour. So we are now watching for that. It's scheduled to be out by top of the next hour, so it'll probably be later in the hour, but it's still going to probably be within the hour.
Now, Thomas, what percentages do you think they're going to go with at the top of this hour?
I think they're going to stay with what they have now. 70% in 2 days, 80% in 5, or it'll be 80% in 2 days, 80% in 5. I think those are the two possibilities.
What I think they're going to go with, I think they're going to go with 80% in 48 hours and 90% in 5 days.
Well, we'll see who's right. If I had to give it my own forecast, I would give it 70% in 48 hours and 90% in 5 days at the moment. That would be my current forecast, but the NHC has disagreed with me since the beginning with this storm's chance of development. So I'm sticking to my guns, but I think that they're going to really stick with what they have now because not much has changed.
Now, Thomas, do we have any more questions that have come in?
Oh, we have quite a few, actually. What are your predictions of total rainfall in Mobile, Alabama? In Mobile, I'm thinking, I don't know, I think at most 4 inches-ish at the moment. I don't think that this storm is going to be that heavy of an impactor for Alabama. I think at most, yeah, you could get a few inches of rain out of it. So it's still going to be a lot, not as much as some other areas could get. Another question is from Tropical Weather Updated. Will we go past the letter O this
Too
year?
early to say. As we say with questions like this all the time, it is too early to say. Way too early to say.
Yeah, I would agree. We have another question here. Is there another storm that is forming other than 92L or Cosme? Well, we do have an area of interest in the Eastern Pacific that could form, although its odds of forming right now, according to the NHC, are quite low. So that would not be something that I would be looking at overly closely at the moment.
Currently on my screen is that East Pacific area of interest. As you can see, the National Hurricane Center giving it a 0% chance of formation in the next 48 hours. However, if you go to the 5-day outlook, they are giving this a 20% chance of formation in 5 days.
Well, we will see if it does manage to pull that off. Definitely an interesting outlook. We'll see. It's probably not going to manage to pull off the development in 5 days. But again, like the Hurricane Center is saying, it's not impossible for this system to do so. So we'll have to see when the new National Hurricane Center outlook comes out. That's going to be interesting. But here's our next question. CE Plays says, I live in Houston. Should I monitor this system? Yes, you should. Heavy rainfall is possible, if not likely. And we're also going to be seeing quite a bit of a shift westward being a possibility. It was that far west at one point. It's not that far west now, but it could shift back westward. So please, yes, definitely monitor the system. Someone asking, did Barry form yet? No.
No. I did see a question. Do you think the system will become a tropical storm by late Wednesday or early Thursday?
Yes.
I think that it'll be at tropical storm intensity in around 36 hours, I want to say. It should certainly be a tropical depression at least in 24. All that it's really needs now is just to organize.
Yeah. At the moment. Oh, we have another question. Is this going to move slow while it's in the water? Not really. Steering is good enough for this storm to move at quite the pace. It's going to be moving relatively quickly. It's not going to be moving overly slow. It's not going to be the fastest storm you've ever seen either. But it will be a slower one. We have another question here. Currently in Panama City Beach, Florida, is any rain related to 92L? If you're getting rain in Florida, it's probably related to 92L. Quite simply.
I do see another question that we had. Will 92 become a Category 1 hurricane? I mean, it's possible. But at this point, the general model consensus is for a strong tropical storm.
Possible, but too early.
Yeah, and then we do have another question. Will this have strong storm surge like Nate of 2017? Definitely possible. HMON also strengthening this quite fast, but definitely possible. So, yeah, we'll see. Storm surge, though, not looking to be overly big of a threat right now. We'll see. That could change. Another question. Unit Gamic saying, this is probably an odd question, but do you guys know what happens if we go past the Greek alphabet in the naming list?
I do not.
Never
happened before.
I don't believe that there's a plan for that. I think that they just start going by number.
Considering that we've only ever gotten to Greek alphabet once, and even then we only got to a few names. Do you really think that's going to happen?
I think we're having audio issues with Max.
Yeah, we are having audio issues.
Considering the fact that we've only gotten...
I think we can all agree with that. So here we go. We do have another question. Will this have a big wind field like Irma did? Probably not as big, but it'll be larger, I think. It's not going to be a small wind field. It's going to be quite wide, about as wide as about half the state of Louisiana, I think, is a reasonable prediction. And we'll see there. Someone asking, is Mobile, Alabama clear or in the brunt? Neither. Mobile will be getting lots of rain from this, but not the winds nor the storm surge. Another question here. I had been tracking the storm, but I have a question. Would it form by the time it heads west into Texas?
Certainly.
Yes. That's almost a certainty at this point. Immunity Chubb saying, what do you think about the wave off of Africa right now? It's not going to do anything, in my opinion.
If you can give me a minute, I can pull up some imagery on that wave and see what we got for it. Alright, I do have imagery on that tropical wave now. And while convection yesterday was actually looking pretty good for this tropical wave, it has since diminished as dry air just came in and just killed this thing pretty much. Development of this system is going to be pretty low, however, so any chance of a tropical cyclone from this area is low.
Yeah. All right. And here we go. We have a few other questions. Will Houston be hit? Probably not. We have another one. Will 92L be organized?
Obviously.
Depends on how quickly it gets its act together.
All right, and we are continuing to look at this situation. There we go. It does seem like people are saying that the stream does continuously buffer. We do apologize for that. I will change the internet here, maybe. Depends on if this keeps happening. If it does, I will keep on going. It seems like some people it's cutting out for and some people it's not. So I guess it depends. At least on my end, it doesn't look like it has been. But we'll see. I can switch the internet. It will definitely cut out for about a second, and then it'll come back.
The National Hurricane Center has updated their East Pacific outlook has been updated for the area of disturbance in the East Pacific. This area of interest remains with a 0% chance of formation in 48 hours, 20% in 5 days. We are still awaiting the update on 92L.
It will likely be coming out here in short order, and then after that we will talk about it, and then we will be getting going. Another question. If you look at satellite imagery, I see a little spin on that tropical wave. Do you agree? It depends on which one you're referring to. If you're referring to 92L, definitely. If you're referring to the one over in Africa, I saw a little bit of one, but nothing that would be conducive of a tropical cyclone. Someone else asking, will this Invest 92L be a tropical storm by Thursday or Thursday? At least I think
Could be
Thursday.
one.
I mean, it could go either way, but I think on the day of Thursday it's going to do it. Here we go. Force 13, when do you think the first storm will form in the main development region? Climatologically, it's like mid-late August or something like that, so that's
I
what
think
I'm going to
that
go with.
if we're going to get a main development region storm, it'll probably be August.
Yeah.
We know July has spoiled some surprises on us, like barrel. So it could happen.
All right. The weather kid asking, will this cost $1 million or $1,000? That's a difficult question. Where it makes landfall will determine how costly a storm is. So that's an unrealistic question to answer. And definitely those are two very different answers. I think it could be somewhere in between there. Here we go. Mr. Undercraft asking, should Houston prepare? I'd say yeah. Just prepare for a little bit of rain. Prepare for flooding, really. I mean, that's what I'd say get most prepared for. For this to cause flooding. It's not going to be anything like Hurricane Harvey was in Corpus Christi. It's not going to be anything like Houston experienced then. But still, just prepare for flooding. Is this season going to be like 2017 is our next question, and what are our answers for that?
Well, I think it's too early to tell. If I'm not mistaken, 2017, I believe a clear and cut one. This isn't.
We're getting lots of audio issues from Max there. National Hurricane Center still yet to get a new tropical weather outlook, but still definitely this is still at 80%. Will probably remain at a high chance of development when the new outlook does come out. The H-Wharf does take this at 72 hours out to be a hurricane. So for anyone that thought that the H-Wharf wasn't being the H-Wharf, it's got a 977 millibar hurricane 72 hours out. So there we go. There we go. All right. If you have any other questions, please let us know. All right, we do have another question. Thomas, do you think this could be a hurricane? I do think that this could be a hurricane. I think that this has a fair chance of getting there. If it does, it'll probably be a 75 to 80 mile an hour hurricane. It won't be that strong. It won't be a Category 2. I don't think it's going to get there. But still, it's going to be a... It's going to be a powerful system either way. It's going to be a stronger tropical storm, probably. Right, we are getting from Bermuda Chub, the stream isn't loading, although it seems like everyone else is doing okay on the front of the stream loading. We do have another question. Here we go. Could this storm possibly rapidly intensify? We've had 2 people ask this now. And yeah, I would say yeah. I mean, every storm has that possibility, and it's definitely in conditions to do that. Ethan, would you agree?
All right, I just got back. What was the question?
The question was, could this rapidly intensify?
I mean, if it's gonna do it, it'll probably have to do it as it's passing south of New Orleans, but any chance rapid intensification, gonna say it's not gonna happen at all.
Yeah, we'll see. What type of hurricanes does Indiana get, someone asked, and the answer is they don't.
Well, I mean, I guess that I'd be better suited to answer this question because I'm from Indiana, as a matter of really the type of hurricanes we get up here are going to be post-tropical hurricanes. So you're after they are through their tropical phase and as they're making land. The most recent, however, we do have the most recent example of a tropical cyclone making it up to Indiana would be Alberto back in 2018, which survived up to here as a tropical. So there are some storms that do make up here still fully tropical, but it's extremely.
We do have another question. How strong could rapid intensification make this storm? If it were to rapidly intensify again, 75 to 80 miles an hour, I'd say if we were really pushing it, 90. But this will not get up to 100 miles an hour. This will not get up to Category 2 status.
Well, I mean, it's possible that it could, but the chances of it hitting Category 2 are pretty low.
They are extremely low. So I'm not going to be making any claims. At least for that. I'm going to make the claim that it's not going to get there because I'm pretty sure it's not going to get there. But I guess technically it might. Lindy and Rachel's asking, will this reach Category 1 status? It might. And again, we do have, will this pass Andrea's wind speeds?
Oh, well, certainly it will.
Probably, yes.
Breaking news, breaking news. We have the update from the National Hurricane Center. They have gone with a 90% chance of formation, 90% in 48 hours and 5 days. 90% in 48 hours and 5 days.
There we go. So they have made the upgrade to 90% on both fronts. So I believe that Ethan and I were both incorrect on that front. But Ethan was more correct than me, so good job. But yeah, 90-90 definitely seems reasonable to me. Yeah, there we go.
Graded their forecast to say tropical depression is expected instead of likely.
Yeah, they're saying it's going to form late Wednesday or Thursday while the low pressure system moves westward across the northern Gulf of Mexico. Tropical storm, hurricane, and storm surge watches would be required for a portion of the northern Gulf Coast on Wednesday. An Air Force Reserve Unit reconnaissance aircraft is now scheduled to investigate the disturbance tomorrow afternoon. And in addition, the disturbance has the potential to produce heavy rainfall from the upper Texas coast to the Florida Panhandle during the next several days. So there we go, the new NHC outlook. This is probably going to develop. And when it does, Force 13 will be right here, and we will be covering the situation. So any other thoughts on the National Hurricane Center outlook?
Well, I mean, looking at it now, look at what they're saying. Where they say tropical storm, hurricane, and tornado watches could be required tomorrow. When they typically say that, they typically do make it a PTC. So it would not surprise me if we are seeing potential tropical cyclone 2 in the Gulf of Mexico tomorrow sometime.
Wouldn't surprise me either. Right now, for everyone that's watching, thank you so much for watching this live stream. We did enjoy putting it up. Now the National Hurricane Center has released their new outlook. We will be getting going as all the new information has come out. More information on the Invest Force 13's official numbers and what we expect it to do, you can find that on our Tropical Weather Bulletin, which will be coming out in about half an hour's time. That will be hosted by Nathan Foy, and you can see that then. So, again, thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for our Tropical Weather Bulletin. Any other thoughts, team?
Stay safe, monitor your National Weather Service and the National Hurricane Center as a storm, or the system is expected to become a tropical cyclone tomorrow.
Yep. Alright, again, thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you at the Tropical Weather Bulletin.